The following episode will contain spoilers. You have been warned.
You're listening to Cinema IRL, the podcast that throws you into the movie and asks the question, what would you do? After watching The Substance, Amber and Scott had a lot to say. Check out this very unique episode. And now, Cinema IRL.
I wish I could switch places for just one day.
What would you do?
Put yourself in my shoes.
How do we handle this?
What would you do?
Put yourself in my position.
What would you do?
Now it's your turn.
Hey everyone. So today we are discussing the movie My Old Ass. Oh, wait. Nope. That was the last one. Sorry. I got confused.
Alrighty. So
You get it, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
for sure. So this episode we are talking about The Substance. A fading celebrity decides to use a black market drug, a cell-replicating substance that temporarily creates a younger, better version of herself.
I think better is highly subjective.
I would agree. And there is so much to talk about with this movie. And folks, as always, if you haven't seen The Substance, I do not want to ruin this for you. You should definitely see this film. So if it's on your list of films to watch, please check it out and then come back to us as always and listen to this episode.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm not going to worry about spoilers because
You've been more than warned.
more than warned.
So let's start with actually just a really brief recap of what this film is so then we can get into the
I mean,
really
we don't
good,
need to
juicy
recap.
stuff.
I mean, people know what the film is. So
Well, I don't think that description at all served what this film was and the very specific angles that it took that shifted the
we're
storyline.
only 15 to 20 minutes. So
Yeah.
So here's the first question. Number one: Would you take this black market drug?
So once I got directions to some alley with graffiti and garbage in a scary neighborhood, I think I'm out.
Okay.
I want to go to a doctor in a nice medical office with clean white walls and a receptionist and some sort of credibility if I'm supposed to be injecting something into my body, not basically looks like a drug den in an alley.
So here is my thing. And on some of my what would you do's here, I'm going to have to make a different assumption than the movie makes.
Okay.
Because I originally was under the assumption that because they were the same person, that they effectively shared a brain. Like as one went to the other.
Okay, let's just fill this in for our folks who might be curious and enjoy listening but haven't seen the film. So we go into this thinking that for some reason she takes this drug and she's going to be a younger, better version of herself. But that's not what happens. Her body opens up and gives birth to a whole second person who is the younger, better version of herself. And they alternate every 7 days with one of them being alive. So
They are supposed to alternate every 7
Yes.
days.
So the young version winds up having this really exciting life, and the current version who started this whole process winds up rapidly declining, feeling sorry for herself, eating too much, watching TV. And so when you ask about would you do this, if it was the notion of where I thought we were going to be is I am a younger, better version of myself, that is probably a yes. But if it's I'm going to give birth to some other younger version that's having a great life and I'm just kind of shut out and I'm a host for her to take my what little youth I have and make it her own, hell no.
Yeah, no. I mean, as written, hell no. But even, okay, so I want to run under the assumption here that, sure, maybe you still have to give birth the way it gave birth, but you get to share a brain so that there's really one brain and you're in one body for 7 days, then you're in the other body for 7 days, then you're in one body and there's no real split personality because they put out a split personality thing, which I thought was kind of silly. But
what do you mean a split personality?
Well, okay. They end up beating the shit out of themselves because they both of them learn to loathe the other one because there's no control. And if you have one, it's two brains. Like they were one brain to start, but once they split, they both went with their own.
I don't I don't know if I agree with that notion of one brain, two brains, because every time one of the women came back to life for her 7 days, she looked around in shock what the other one had done.
Precisely. It's two brains. One didn't know what the other one was doing.
Okay, so if you haven't watched the film, I know you're confused.
Yeah. And if you haven't watched the film, don't even listen to the episode, honestly. Just go watch the film. I mean, that's the assumption we have to make here. Because anyone who hasn't watched the film is going to be completely lost. So let's not spend 20 minutes doing disclaimers. If you have two brains where they split and then they're two separate people, that's stupid. That's completely stupid. Why would you do that?
Yeah, I don't, again, I'm not in agreement with you here about the brains. But what's to disagree? But what I will say in talking about what we do here is what would you do? I would not be giving my time and energy and money and effort to this younger self that is living a great life, especially once I realize that she is not playing by the rules and actually stealing any sort of youth I have and making me older.
But that's to say, here's my point. And like, there was a point that she called up and she was like, I maybe want to stop this. They're like, you can stop it anytime you want. You're just stuck with where you're at. And then she's like, no, I don't want to. Hell yes, I want to. I want to stop immediately because...
Yeah, I did understand that. And so our original character, her name is Elizabeth, and the younger version of herself is Sue. And once Elizabeth realizes that Sue is not abiding by the 7 days, that she's tacking on days, and every time she tacks on days, she makes Elizabeth older. So Elizabeth
because she only has 7 days of food.
Yeah, so Elizabeth gets varicose veins, Elizabeth gets a hunchback, Elizabeth gets gray hair, and I don't understand why when given the opportunity to stop, Elizabeth was like, no, I guess because she wanted to see some version of herself succeed, but doing what we do here, and what would you do? If I saw my younger version having this great life and me getting older to enable that, heck no, stop that right the heck now.
Oh, I mean, I'd never even consider it. Like, here's the thing. What is the point to me literally giving up 50% of my life so that somebody else can have a great life?
We are one. You are the same
person.
Well,
that's the thing. They're not. And that is where I had a problem with the movie from that perspective, is that they weren't the same person. To be the same person, you need the same brain. You need to be thinking along the same lines. Like, both sides need to not only understand the consequences of the other side, but understand that they feel those consequences of it when they have to shift bodies for one reason or the other. And that's what wasn't there. And because it wasn't there, it made the concept a little more ridiculous. Because, why would I give up 50% of my life just so somebody else who I've created can have this great life that I can never enjoy any fruits of that labor?
So let's dig into some of the topic material here today. And I think as a woman, I can probably address this a little bit differently than you can as a guy. Boy, when you are not in your 20s anymore and you start going into your 30s and 40s and on and on and on, no guy could understand how that feels as a woman.
Oh yeah, no, I do agree. Aging is way worse on y'all.
And it's not because I think left to our own devices in a completely neutral society, it would bother us. It's because society has created this youth-obsessed culture, and men get distinguished when they get older and women get old. And it's been that way for a long, long time, and it's really messed up. So when you asked me, would I do this? And I said, well, I'd want a actual clinical environment with information, because what our character Elizabeth did is she just signed up for it based on very little information. And in doing so, gave birth to this second version of herself. And at that point, boy, the genie's out of the bottle.
Oh, yeah. I mean, here's the thing. If I'm on the sidelines for one session and I realize that I'm basically asleep for a week and I'm going to reap no real benefits from this person being around, except, I mean, maybe something they do to help fill the bank account, I'm out immediately.
Yeah, I really didn't understand Elizabeth saying when she wanted to stop, and then when she was given the opportunity, she's like, no. Again, I think it goes back to wanting to see some version of her to succeed. But what was really sad was seeing Elizabeth become a shell of herself, because she called a guy who would be very lucky to go out on a date with her. She is definitely the catch. And yet she started to get so insecure about her appearance when she saw Sue, her younger, better version of herself, and she kept changing her clothes and redoing her makeup and redoing her hair to meet this guy, so much so that she just kind of had a breakdown and didn't go. And that was so sad. And when you think about a what would you do standpoint, once my life got worse, so my other version's life could get better.
I mean, not just worse, but significantly worse.
Yeah, because ultimately she loses her hair, her joints are all messed up, she has a huge hunchback, she can barely walk. It's painful
for
to
me
watch.
to even discuss this topic. I have to go under the assumption outside of the movie that they would share a brain. Like both sides would be cognizant of what would happen to the other one based on what they're doing. Not only are they aware of the consequences, but because they share a brain, they would feel those consequences. If she overate as the old person, she knows that she would be worse when she was younger. And if she took some extra time when she was younger, that it would make her feel worse older.
Elizabeth and Sue. So the other part of it is looking at Sue's perspective. So
But see, for me, there's no perspective. I can't discuss it with perspective. It literally has to be, you are one.
Okay.
Eliza Shue.
Yeah. So
Eliza Sue, or I guess Elizabeth Shue is somebody, but Eliza Sue.
Yeah. So, but digging into what we do here as a what would you do standpoint is if I was waking up and living my life as Sue, and Sue, who was given this show that used to be Elizabeth's, and all of these opportunities because she was young and perky and pretty, and there was this woman who was basically my host body giving me life, and I can understand why Sue kept taking because she had an amazing life. She didn't want to go into hibernation for a week. She was living the dream. So as much as it's nice to say you would be ethical and play by the rules, wow, if you had all of these opportunities presented to you.
Yeah, and that's why I can't even discuss the movie on that concept. Because you're right. If you're Sue, you never want to bring Elizabeth back. And if you're Elizabeth, why the hell would you want Sue around? Like, literally, it makes zero sense. From a logical standpoint, it makes no sense whatsoever. And I can't discuss something that makes absolutely no sense. I have to say that they share the brain for me to even be able to truly get into the discussion. And then instead of, I mean, I could say Elizabeth and Sue, but they are still the same person.
Yeah, and how this all started was Elizabeth was very popular. She'd been around for a long time, had an illustrious career, and basically the producers of her show decided, okay, she's aging, and she still looked amazing. I mean, Demi Moore, who played Elizabeth, is in her 60s. I believe she's in her 60s.
Yeah.
And she looks fantastic. But yet she wasn't, the skin wasn't perfectly taut, and age. We all age.
Okay.
And it was this situation that prompted Elizabeth to make such a drastic decision to even go to this basically drug alley to get this substance so she could live a life with her better, younger self, and not fully even understanding what that meant at the time.
Yeah. I mean, I made some notes during the movie, and just a few things. I mean, I guess we're not going to come to terms on the way I'm wanting to actually discuss this episode, so I guess I'll just do it the other way. Number one, what would I do if I was the younger self? I would get some scar cream for my older self. For that
would be
thing in
very
the back.
nice. That would be very nice for Sue to show Elizabeth some compassion and some care.
Number 2, I wouldn't do this on a hard tile bathroom floor. Like, and just, oh, you're just there on the floor. Like, I mean, figure out something a little better. I mean, I guess when she made the compartment later, but it wasn't for
was
her
to hide
comfort.
her.
It was to hide her.
Yeah. So when they transition for this month, or this week rather, the person who's unconscious is, on this tile floor and ultimately hidden because Sue doesn't want to be exposed to Elizabeth and removes Elizabeth's picture from the house.
Because literally the way it's written, the movie, you are creating your worst enemy. Like you're not making a better version of yourself. You're literally creating your single worst enemy. The person who
is robbing you of half your life.
Is robbing. I mean, like literally your worst enemy. So
and even more
treating
so,
you like one.
Yeah, and even more so with Sue, because not only is she taking half Elizabeth's life, but Elizabeth's life is actually getting worse and worse and worse because her aging accelerates every time Sue takes
That
over.
was my problem with the movie and the concept in general. I like, and also, why I understand the first time. I totally understand the first time. It kind of makes sense.
The first time what?
After the first time when she gets initially injected, why you got to be naked every time? Like every time before they split, look, it's just a needle in the arm. They're just swapping bodies like a Freaky Friday type thing. Why you got to get naked every single time?
Well, it wasn't the last time Sue wasn't naked. She was in pajamas, like little jammies.
Yeah, but for like the first several transitions, they always just, oh, I'm just going to get naked and lay here.
Yeah, there was definitely naked bodies every time. Yeah.
Yeah, if I'm going to be swapping out, I'm going to put my ass on a bed or something. And
yeah, the first time when Sue actually came out of Elizabeth's spine.
You got to be naked for that.
You don't want it to get caught up in your shirt. Yeah.
Also, this movie was just, it was so hard to watch. They were so gratuitous in like the things that make you squirm. Like when they were sewing her up, they went through painstaking detail to show how that needle was going in. I mean, they went deep into detail. I probably spent at least a quarter of the movie watching it through my fingers.
Yeah, I think that's part of what made it good, though.
I mean, I'm not saying it was bad.
I loved it. I thought it was a great film.
I mean, from a storytelling perspective, like I said,
and folks, we're not even touching on a fraction of where this film ultimately goes. So hopefully you check it out and see it because it's definitely worth seeing. It's very unique.
Conceptually, it's great, but from a logic perspective, like it lost me because there's no good reason if you're Elizabeth to do this. Now, maybe she does it because she doesn't understand the way it's going to work.
Yeah. Sue
comes out. She realizes that she was in hibernation for a week and is like, what benefit am I getting out of this? Screw this. I'm done.
Yeah.
I get that. So I could see her going forward with it.
So if someone offers you a proposition that's too good to be true, read the fine print.
But here's the thing. I'm sorry. I still want to discuss this. I've been trying to, for like 18 minutes now, discuss the concepts of doing this, like if they shared a brain, like would you, if you knew you shared a brain, but your old stuff, like basically each side had to be out of commission for a week at a time and there's nothing you can do about it. Would you do that?
I think Elizabeth was aware of the great benefit to Sue. I don't think Sue gave a crap about Elizabeth.
So there's a lot that we're covering here on this episode, so much so that we are actually going to split this into 2 episodes. So stay tuned for part 2 of this one next time.
We hope you enjoyed our episode. Thank you for listening. And to catch all the new episodes, please subscribe. We release 2 to 3 episodes weekly, so we'll have new content regularly. Until next time.